Hey everybody, PCOcast here, back with more Endless Summer. So, last we left off, I believe I had just read this. I came back to the square, sat down on a bench, and gave an exhausted sigh. I better sit here and wait for dinner. After all, it's easier to search for answers when you're not hungry. They do give food to people here, right? You know, it's curious how the simplest human needs can break the will to ponder on things, to strive for something. For example, I feel hungry now, so I care much less about where I am or what is happening to me. Could great people also be affected by this? And in that case, how did Spartacus start the slave uprising in ancient times? I can only conclude that I am not a great person, and it does not really matter which mechanism I serve, as a gear in society, the Matrix, or a weird pioneer camp. My thoughts were interrupted by the sound of bells chiming from a loudspeaker on the light pole. Must be the dinner call. I headed towards the canteen. It was a good thing that now I knew where it was. Sentence doesn't quite make sense to me. Olga was standing there, standing on the porch. I stopped and looked closely at her as if I was expecting something. She looked back at me for a while, but at last came closer. And closer. Olga, Semyon, what are you waiting for? Come in already. Guess nothing bad can happen if I go with her. My stomach backed me up here. Wow, there's a lot more people here than I thought there was going to be. The two of us went inside. The canteen looked like a canteen. I'd had a chance to visit a factory canteen at some point in my life. This one was exactly the same, just maybe a bit cleaner and more modern. Metal chairs and tables, glazed tiles on the walls and on the floor, unsophisticated tableware with the occasional crack. Guess that's what a canteen and a pioneer camp is supposed to look like. Simeon, wait a moment. We'll find you a place to sit. Looked around the place. I can't pronounce that. Hold it right there. Olga shouted at... Oh, right, that's Alyssa, who was passing by. What? What's up with your clothes? Anything wrong with them? Indeed, her attire looked somewhat provocative. Get your uniform nice and neat right now. All right. Alyssa got her shirt right and walked past, shooting an unpleasant glare at me. Where can we find you a place to sit? There weren't a lot of free seats. Over there, next to Ulyana. Yeah, it's fine. The food's already on the table, too. I had no other choice but to accept. Of course, there was the probability that the cutlets were poisoned with karar? The mashed potatoes generously seasoned with arsenic, and the glass filled with excellent antifreeze instead of kompot. In common Russian language, kotleta, cutlet, is minced meat, fried or baked in the shape of a ball or cylinder. Close to American patties, kompot is a drink made by boiling fresh or dried fruit in a large amount of water. Compote in French. Interesting. Kind of like a tea, sort of? Or like iced tea. Well, not really iced tea, but I'm trying to think of how you would do that. Maybe, I guess you could do lemonade like that. You know, boil lemons and then let it cool. Maybe? I don't know. But it all looked so tasty that I had no chance to resist. Hey. What do you want? I replied rather rudely to Ulyana, who was sitting right next to me. Why didn't you play football with us? Because of my clothes, said I, pointing at the source of the problem. Oh, alright then. Eat. That was easy. However, there wasn't much left to eat. My cutlet was missing from the plate. Only she could have done it. No, more precisely, none but Ulyana could have done it. Give me back my cutlet. In a big family, you snooze, you lose. It can cost you a cutlet if you're careless. Give it back, I'm telling you. attempt to take the cutlet, or attempt to... do not attempt to take the cutlet. Yeah, I'm gonna grab it from her. I looked at her menacingly and was about to reach out my hand. See? I don't have it. And indeed, Ulyana's plate was empty. Seems that this little girl eats as fast as she steals someone's cutlets. Take it easy, we'll work something out now. Grabbed my plate and ran off. There's no point in following her. If they wanted to poison me here, they could have done it in a much easier way. About a minute later, Ulyana returned and handed me the plate with a steaming hot cutlet on it. Here's one for the starving. Thanks. Is all I could say. I was so hungry that my suspicions were gone in a flash. I picked up the cutlet with my fork and... what the? Some bug. No, not a bug. An insect. It's got legs and it's wriggling. The plate fell on the floor and broke into pieces. The chair hit me hard on my leg while falling. I've disliked insects since I was a child. But when these creepy crawlies appear in my plate, that's just way too much. You little... Ulyana seemed ready for such a twist and was already at the door, laughing as if she had just heard a fresh stand-up comedy joke. I dashed after her. We ran out of the canteen. We were just a few dozen meters apart and I felt I could catch this little girl easily. We ran through the square, past the club's house, and ran into the forest path. Onto the forest path. I started to gasp for breath. Should have quit smoking, I guess. Ulyana passed out of sight on the next turn. Can't be true that they should manage to get away from me. It simply can't. Well, you're a smoking computer nerd, and she's like a fit kid. Of course she ran out. Of course she beat you. I stopped and tried to catch my breath again. Night was falling. Looks like I'm lost. It's a bad idea to stay in the woods at night. Better get back to camp. However, I had absolutely no clue which way to go. How about in the reverse direction of where you just came from? Well, I gotta choose at random. I wandered for quite some time in the forest and even thought of crying for help, but finally I saw the camp's fence beyond the trees. Everything fell back into place. The bus is gone, I mumbled quietly. On the one hand, there was nothing strange about that. The bus couldn't just stay there forever. On the other hand, it meant there was someone driving, because buses do not drive themselves. Or do they? This world seemed too normal, but every event here had at least two explanations for it. An ordinary, real, everyday explanation, and a surreal one. Certainly the driver could have just been off for a snack, and I left too soon, and that's why... In any case, this is not the place for me. Whether that bus drives itself or not was probably an important question, but it was much more important to know how I had got here at all, and where this here was. The fields and the woods stretching towards the horizon had no answers. There's nothing familiar about them. Strange, odd, and alien world. However, at the same time, it was absolutely not frightening. Either my self-preservation instinct decided to resign from its job, or all this running around the camp and the local pioneers had lulled me so much with their carefree normality that I was simply forgetting that what had happened to me just a couple of hours ago. Although I probably just had no strength left to worry. All I wanted was some peace, calmness. I wanted to just have a break from it all, and only after that would I continue looking for answers, ready and reloaded. However, that would be some time later. What about now? Can I allow myself to relax? Excellent questions. It got completely dark, and in any case, it was better to spend the night in the camp. I was about to head back when someone came up silently from behind. Hello, what are you doing here so late? It was Slavya, standing before me. I was so surprised I jumped. So you didn't catch Ulyana, did you? She smiled. I nodded disappointedly and sighed. No wonder. No one ever has. Yeah, she's a real rocket girl. She could have found a better use for her energy than looking for adventures. You must be hungry. You didn't manage to have dinner after all. Indeed, I'd completely forgotten about my hunger, but after these words of hers, my stomach drew attention to itself by giving a traitorous rumble. Slavya smiled. Let's go then. What, is the canteen still open? It's alright, I have the keys. The keys? Yes, I have the keys to all the facilities in this camp. How come? Well, I'm something like the camp leader's aide here. I see. Well, let's go. It was an offer you can't refuse. Especially when you're starving. When he reached the square, Slavya stopped in her tracks. Excuse me, I should warn my roommate that I'll be late. She's so punctual herself that she'll be worried otherwise. You go on to the canteen and I'll come in a minute, alright? Alright. I really did not expect to find somebody aside from myself there at such a late hour, and that somebody was apparently trying hopelessly to open the door. Without any secret thoughts, I walked up onto the porch. The lockpicker turned out to be Alyssa. I should have probably kept off and waited. She looked at me intently for a while and said, "Don't just stand there, give me a hand or something." Meaning? Help me open the door. Why? 'Cause I want some buns and kefir. Dinner wasn't big enough. Is that really a good idea? Aren't you hungry yourself? Huh? Ulyana didn't let you have a normal dinner, did she? She smiled sarcastically. It's true, she didn't. It's fine. Slavya will come now and... What? Guess I shouldn't have said that. I'm off then. And you'll pay for this. You owe me 2 already. Having said that, Alyssa disappeared into the night. What was the first one? Slavya didn't keep me waiting for too long. Is everything alright? Yeah, why are you asking? No reason. It's nothing. It would be better if I didn't tell her about Alyssa. Everything's fine. I said that and immediately heard a note of dishonesty in my voice. Well, shall we go? As for Slavya, she seemed not to have noticed anything. Or at least she was pretending she hadn't. We entered the canteen. Wait a bit, I'll go get something. I sat down on a chair and obediently waited for my savior. My dinner was simple, a few buns and a glass of kefir. No wonder, I bet hungry pioneers finished everything off. However, even that was far better than most of my usual diet. Slavya sat across the table and looked at me while I was eating. Is there something on my face? No, just... She smiled. How did you like your first day in the camp? Well, I don't really know. It's silly to ask someone who suddenly found himself in a different reality whether he liked the food in the canteen, the camp leader, or his assigned hut. It's alright. You'll soon get used to it. Slavya stared out the window dreamily. Frankly speaking, I have no desire to get used to such things, but as for her, she doesn't know. Or at least she wants me to think she doesn't. Well, all in all, it's nice here. I had to somehow break the awkward silence. Do you think so? She asked without any interest. Yeah, this place is so... I wanted to say retro, but I managed to hold that back. After all, it was retro for me, but what about them? It might be the only kind of life they knew. If the term life was applicable here at all. So how? She watched me closely, as if something important depended on my answer. Well, I don't know. Lovely. Yeah, it's lovely here. I guess you're right. She smiled again. It's very good that you think so. Why? Well, not everybody likes it here. What about you? Me? Yes. I love it here. It's great. You don't need to worry about what other people think? Well, I don't really worry. Slavya laughed. This conversation seemed to be leading me far astray from where I wanted to get to. And you're worried yourself. Really? Why do you say so? Well, when someone's chewing so intensely. I'm sorry. It's okay. I couldn't bring myself to be more cautious around this girl. But why her in particular? Why not any other local inhabitant? Every one of them looked completely normal to me. Precisely normal. So normal it sends chills down my spine and into my marrow. Normal. Not like a neighbor with a power drill in one hand and a subwoofer in the other. Not like a passenger you can often meet in a subway or on public transport. Not like a coworker at the next table in an open plan office. And not even like a friend who only differs from other humans in his constant insistence. All of them looked normal, as I would expect them to be, with their own downsides but without any superpowers. Slavya was also cute. I glanced at her stealthily, not knowing what to say. I'm sorry, I wanted to show you the camp, but was run off my feet. I didn't miss anything while I was on my own, I guess. Are you sure you haven't missed anything at all? She smiled so brightly that I had to drop my eyes in confusion. Well, how would I know? It's my first day here. Okay, and what have you seen so far? I've seen the square, this canteen, the football field. What about the beach? Just from afar. You really should go there, or let's do it together. Yeah, okay, we will. Her naturalness started to scare me, but then I thought, what if everything that happens here is how it's supposed to be, and this world looks strangely to me? Well, for them, it is normal. Maybe I was thrown into the past. Yes, that would explain a lot. Can I ask a stupid question? No. Slavya smiled and stood up from the table. It's late. Can you find the way to Olga's by yourself? Can't we just say Olga? Why do we have to have the second name that I can't pronounce? Of course I can, but why should I go there? She'll settle you with someone. What for? Probably this question seemed stupid because Slavya bursted into good-natured laughter. You need to sleep somewhere, right? That makes sense. Fine, I'll be off then. Good night. Night. It's strange that she left in such a hurry. A bundle of keys left in the door lock caught my attention. I'm gonna catch up to Slavya, but where does she live? Knocking on every door during the middle of the night didn't sound like a bright idea. I guess I'll take the keys? Sure. I better take them. I'll give them back tomorrow because who knows what happens here at night. Such thoughts gave me chills. It's me who needs to be careful here in the first place. The night, though dark, wasn't silent at all. One could hear chirping crickets, the songs of the night birds, and rustling trees from everywhere. A sudden desire to follow Slavya's advice and go to the camp leader's cabin appeared. I don't know why, but the sight of the unknown bronze builder of communism put me in a constructive mood. I sat on the bench and started to recall everything that happened today. That was all my constructive mood could offer. Here was much brighter than near the canteen, and tardy pioneers were running by, so this place didn't seem scary at all. Bus, summer camp, girls. I was so tired from everything new and strange that I could not come up with a single explanation for what was going on. I heard a barely noticeable rustle nearby. I shivered and looked in that direction. A girl. Reading a book. Lena. I decided to move closer and talk. She was the only new person I had met here without exchanging even a few words. Hi, what are you reading? Lena was so surprised that she even jumped. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. Never mind. I blushed and stared at the book again. So what are you reading? On the cover was written, Gone with the Wind. I've never actually read Gone with the Wind, so I'll just stay silent. Honestly speaking, I haven't read it, but I think that such literature suits her very well. Lena didn't seem to be interested in continuing the conversation. Well, if I'm bothering you. No. I answered while still looking at the book. Can I sit beside you for a while? Why? Really, why? Maybe just because I was very tired and having company is better than being alone. Maybe I wanted to try and find something out from her. I carefully examined Lena, but no, I doubt that. Well, I don't know, I'm not allowed to? Feel free. But if I'm bothering you, no, you're not. I can leave, just say. Everything's alright. Okay then. I sat on the end of the bench carefully. After such an intense talk, staying here was the last thing I wanted, but it wouldn't be nice to just stand up and leave. That didn't really go well, huh? Lena hasn't answered anything. Seems I made a fool out of myself. I bet Ulyana was... If Ulyana was here, she'd have a good laugh at me. Do you enjoy being here? I recalled that Slavya's question... I recalled the Slavya's question and thought it would be a good start for the conversation. Yes. She smiled slightly. I guess I like it too. Lena definitely isn't very sociable and probably can't carry on a meaningless conversation as easily as Slavya, but there was something about her that attracted attention. The purple hair, the green eyes, like a momentary glimpse of a reflection in the glass on a rainy autumn evening, which makes you turn around and stare into darkness, searching for something you saw out of the corner of your eye. Wow, that is a very interesting way of describing that. Of course, you weren't able to distinguish or understand what it was, but it still felt so tempting. Lena was still reading the book without paying any attention to my presence, and I had no intention of asking her anything about this camp, or this world in general. Beautiful night. Yes. How in the world would you start a conversation with her? It's late. I have to go. Yes, it's quite late. Good night. Night. There's something strange about this girl. At first glance, she was a typically shy and modest pioneer girl, but the mystery of Lena took its own place in the massive list of mysteries about this camp, which I had started to put together in my head. Ugh. I don't know what I should make that ellipses. A lazy evening. There's nothing like a good time with nothing to do. I headed towards Olga's cabin. The light in the house was on. Hello, Simeon. You're quite late. Yeah. I went for a walk to look around the camp. Alright. You'll be sleeping here. Pointed her finger at one of the beds. Right here? I was a bit surprised. Yeah, is something wrong? We're out of free cabins anyway. Camp leader smiled, but I rather think it was just out of politeness. You do want to be a decent pioneer, don't you? There was a clear emphasis on the word decent. Yep, sure. I was lost in thought for a moment. Don't you mind it, mademoiselle? She looked at me oddly, with surprise and some offense in her eyes. A pioneer should respect their elders, Olga said strictly. Of course he should, no one argues with that. I blathered, not realizing what was wrong. Shouldn't you also? She stared at me. Uh-oh. Under such a gaze, even mithril forged by the best dwarf masters from the deepest dungeons would melt. Should I what? What's up, Tuts? Oh, are you serious? Annoyance and a lack of understanding made me raise my voice. You must address adults appropriately. Yes, of course, there are a lot of strange things here, but this girl is just a couple years older than me, or maybe even younger. But I decided not to argue. While just a few minutes ago I would never have called her an adult, I have to admit that she was also given a strong character. And in any case, I wasn't in a position to argue. As you say, ma'am, I mumbled. That's much better. That is how a decent pioneer should conduct himself. And now it's time to sleep. Honestly speaking, I was going to become neither a decent nor an indecent pioneer. Just yesterday I wasn't going to become a pioneer at all. But do I have a choice now? If you don't want to, we'll have to make you. This is the motto Olga was probably going to use. Well, damn. I climbed onto the bed and closed my eyes only to realize how tired I was after today. Something hammered in my head awfully, as if my brains had started the night shift. I can hear the thumping. And they seemed to be aimed more at rolling steel than working on something more sensitive. The bus flew through my mind. And the square with the monument. The canteen full of pioneers, and the malicious face of Ulyana. Slavya. Lena. And even recalling Alyssa didn't give me too much of a negative feeling. What if I'm here for good? What if? Day 2. Wow. Well, thanks for joining me, guys. We will pick day 2 up in the next episode. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.